The suppression.
What's good? What's good? What's good? Thank you for having me. This it's my first time in this neighborhood. It's beautiful. I'm here to do a little bit of spoken word tonight. I'm Fareh Malik, a spoken word poet. I'm an author. I've been having hands in every single aspect of hip hop in my life. You know, I've spun, I've emceed, I've done graffiti, I've hip hop dancing still. But today I'm coming to you as a spoken word artist and a writer. Yeah. Let me just jump straight into it. But the way that I like to do my spoken word readings is I like to have some crowd participation. Who knows what spoken word is? Show of hands. How many of y'all seen this at spoken word shows? I don't care about that. If y'all want to clap, if y'all want to shout, if y'all want to be silent and internalize it, there you go. That's perfect. Yeah. Maybe not that loud. I like to also involve my crowd a little bit, all right? I like to discuss, I like to talk to y'all, I like to get into the community. So this first poem that I want to read to y'all is called Young Poet Listens to the Switchblade Salesman, all right? I'm a spoken word artist. The reason I wrote this poem, and I don't want to get dark too quick, but the reason I wrote this poem is because a friend of mine was killed tragically a couple years ago. And I wrote this poem for him and how in our community we try to stay away from violence. Yeah, that's what it's about. Let me tell you something. Mans that say you don't need that ain't never been jumped in the back alley of a club, crack smoke claws sunken into nostrils, fat beats loud enough to drown out these fists stumping on skin is a tongue that speaks in unholy drum beats. Son, these people never had to hand over their J's and walk home ankles painted every shade of naked. You ever seen the Grim Reaper and have to get your breath back on automatic? You ever had the wind hurricane out of your lungs and then you gotta catch it? Trust me more than your cousins. Trust me more than your daddy. Trust me more than your brothers. They're gonna lead you to the gutter. You can get eaten alive by these blocks. Bet they'll stomp you into concrete and into tombstones if you let them. Young kids nowadays, that's what they turn into. They rise already headstone gray and clay skin metamorphoses, bones and blood. Trust me, young one. I've seen 1,000 mama's eyes flood, watering the soil too salty for anything to actually bud. Look at my skin. I am the friend who forged their thin arms into archives, inking memory into tissue. Shit, you can even see the barber carrying a straight razor on the way back to the bus stop. My nephew's got to be about your age. And they got roughed up the other day. It don't go away, all this tough stuff when you look like us. See, my sister got lucky. Her genetics are part chameleon. That means they must be the way her kids came home alive, but a different color than they left. I know Omar didn't have that. Rest in peace, Omar. And he got killed. And his mom couldn't even say nothing at the funeral. Her mouth just bloomed into flowers like a silent offering to a too late shrine, like a thorn goodbye, like her life was cut at the root. Her jaw dropped like thirsty petals. And it settled like it knew her smile was gonna wither soon. Thank you. That's my first poem. All right. The next poem I'm going to read is called Brown Skin and Beautiful. All right? We are the ones who look like the soil in your planters and the gingerbread men you make on Christmas. The ones who are the coffee beans your complex order from Starbucks, my people have been brewed to a fine dust. I am someone who was given quicksand skin, an excuse for the white man's harsh gaze to sink in slow. I carry my mother's sweet chocolate words and my father's soot-soaked hours of labor. I am the brick that built the chimney and the lumber that still gets sacrificed for the fire inside. The spices you came to my people for were blended together in mortar and pestle, concocted the melanin that you wish you could taste. I'm also the one you raised a gun at. The one you said looked like a threat. This skin was the stage where your appreciation became fear, and from this I learned that no matter how nurturing the tree, people may still bring axes to your trunk. I want to relay this right into the next poem. It's called Sorry, Wrong Guy, and I want to give you guys a little bit of an anecdote about why I wrote it. Has anyone here had experience with police stereotyping, racialization by the police? Anything? Hands up. Anything? I have. And I wrote this poem because it was my way to get it out, but also I got to work with this crazy organization called Peace Builders to work with kids who have been through that trauma, and it's my first-hand account of that experience, so I hope you guys feel it, yeah? The first time I ever had a gun pointed at me, I was on a westbound locomotive. At the intersection of fear and confusion, I found a crescendo. It blasted this soul into astral projection, and through train car windows, it saw my body at the barrel of 3 police pistols. So, if you didn't know, terror is an anesthesiologist. It sucks the life out of your limbs as cocked handguns bark at you to get your hands up. Fright is a pair of earplugs that tune out police commands and replace them with your mother's last words to you. Horror is a cold day. It's practically freezing. It winds up a frigid right hook and aims for your mouth, so when you stutter out that you're innocent, it barely makes it out of icy jaws. You see, if you're unlucky, fear will veil its face with non-compliance and invite bullets to your masquerade. This kind of situation carries with it a grime. A bullet hole infecting, skin-seeping mud which hitchhikes up your nerves and asks you what you did wrong. Why are you so filthy? And it is hardly scrubbed clean by the bitter relief of when they let you go and they say, sorry, wrong guy. Thank you. That's that part. I got 2 more I want to read for y'all. I'm going to try to read it a little bit slower because I don't want some of the words and the imagery to go past because I'm reading too fast. So this next one is about my experience. I'm a Muslim male. I'm someone who grew up in Toronto and then largely also in New York in the post 9/11 era. I had a lot of family members get hurt because of that. I had a lot of family members get threatened because of that. This is a poem that I wrote about my experience with Islamophobia. Yep. After 9/11, the war spilled into our hometowns and made us grow up too fast, and my homie sister don't wear her hijab no more. And all my friends on the ball team say they got my back when they overhear one of the dudes from the school across town say, I heard their team's got a Muslim on it. And my face stays a silent obelisk, a statue testament to normalcy as I barely hear him. Yo, my ears have no capacity for bigotry ever since they were flooded the other day with the sounds of a mosque windows smashing open to an uncensored night sky. And I want to tell this boy that the brick that they threw that day was 10 times heavier than the words you're floating up into the room right now. But that remark isn't nearly enough satisfaction. It curls into a ball inside of me, and I ball my fist in vengeful demolition, a wrecking ball winding up to do to his stomach what they did to the houses of my friends from Palestine. But I don't, because this ain't our part of town. And I'm reminded of when my cousins got caught cutting through the wrong New York City alleyway by some rednecks with a pistol, and damn, I never realized that a 9mm barrel can look black ocean wide when you're scared enough. And yeah, sure, we made it home safe. But our walk back held a tragic, furious kind of silence that burned our throats like salt water whenever we tried to speak its name through a drowning rage. And so we swallowed it down and plastered it to our diaphragm. And for years we would taste it on our breath until one day a Lexus drives by our neighborhood and yells out, "Go home, you packies." And we try to let it go, because Auntie told us to keep a low profile, and Uncle won't even let us wear bomber jackets because they're called bomber jackets, and even that's too sus. But there is still an angry sea in our bellies, and the red light they get caught at cracks open a dam, and it tempts us to run up on them, and so we do, and this time it's we who shatter their windows. Thank you. I'm gonna finish up with one more poem. I was very, very privileged to write this poem for a dear friend of mine, and also for my mom. It's called Aftershocks. But before I get into the last one, I just want to take a quick poll from this crowd right here. How many people here are immigrants, refugees, or the children of immigrants or refugees? Yeah? How many of y'all, keep your hands up, how many of y'all have been told to go back to your own country at some point in your life? I just want to say a quick quote from an author that I'm reading right now, who this poem is related to. Her name is Worcestershire. And she said, for everyone who left their homes to come to Canada, to come to America, England, whatever, she said, you don't leave home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You don't put your babies into the boat on the water unless the water is safer than the land. My parents were immigrants and refugees. I grew up with that, and this is what this poem is about. Brown girl once taught me that her flesh was molasses, not for its darkness or its sweetness, but because her skin was just as thick. That's how it's got to be to survive. Brown girl only ever cooked with brown sugar for solidarity, she joked. Brown girl said she still felt the anxiety of her ancestors whenever she crossed a border. Looking for checkpoints just feels like an instinct. Brown girl's family hoarded. They built castles of cardboard in the living room, and they savored every bit of what they could call theirs. Her family said it was because they knew what it was like to lose a home, to have a tongue stolen, to have a culture ripped clean from your womb. Then at school, white girl told us she's 1/4 Scottish, half British, and 1/4 Israeli. And she asked brown girl, what kind of brown are you? Your guess is as good as mine. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Fareh Malik. If you want to check me out, it's Fareh Malik Poetry on Instagram, and thank you for having me.